welcome to our first What's Your Story topics. I am Jummy Ola, joined here with my co-host Sal. Our first topic is self-discipline. So now, what's self-discipline?
Well, my definition of it, Jummy, is purpose over pleasure.
Okay. Purpose over pleasure.
Yes.
So, and why do we need self-discipline?
You're asking me, or you're asking the audience?
Why do we need self-discipline, audience?
We need self-discipline to accomplish things in our life that we don't think we can accomplish at times, to be the best version of ourselves. If we want to accomplish things and we want to be fruitful in our lives, we need self-discipline.
Yeah, so, it keeps us grounded, right? So without self-discipline, we are just an empty vessel. We're not able to really focus on our why, right? We all have a why. We all have a purpose a purpose or a goal on where we're headed. But if we don't have self-discipline, we kind of shortchange ourselves from getting to our desired outcome or getting to a desirable outcome, getting to our destination, which is destiny, right?
Absolutely. And it seems like we go around on a hamster wheel. We're moving, and we're not getting much done. And that's where the self-discipline to come in and to be focused to do different things.
Right. It's kind of like insanity. You're doing the same thing all over again and expecting for a desirable outcome, but without self-discipline, that outcome is not desirable. It's just learning the same lesson, going through the same patterns over and over again. And how do you break free from that pattern? How do you break free from the limitation? And how do you manifest, or how do you get back what you're created to do? How do you become your best self, right? It takes self-discipline. And when we go back to the Bible verse in Proverbs 25:28, and it states, a man without self-control is like a city broken into and left without walls. That's deep.
Left desolate, no protection, no walls, and just empty.
Empty vessel.
Everything that you have is stolen from you. Mm-hmm. And when you don't have self-discipline, it's like you're left empty.
Right. So, and then when you're empty, what do you seek for? You're trying to fill that void, right? So
absolutely.
There's always that emptiness in you that you want to fill with things around you, because you're not really searching within yourself. In order for you to find self-discipline, it starts with the inside out, not the outside in. Oftentimes, when we're trying to find discipline or trying to create new habits, we're always trying to look at, okay, what is around me and how can I take that on to fill that void, right? So instant gratification then becomes very pronounced in your life. You start to look for this and that, the next shiny object, because you're not focused. You're not focused on yourself. You're focusing on the things around you, but not yourself. You're not grounded. But once you ground yourself into who you are, you become your authentic self. You start to mold yourself. You start to create. You start to develop. You start to break free from a lot of shackles, a lot of things, a lot of chains that hold you down, a lot of generational curses, that has just become a cycle, a pattern due to the lack of self-discipline.
Absolutely. So we're going to take a look at the reasons why we don't have self-discipline. And we listed, there's so many reasons, but we listed 5 very important ones. And the first one that we're going to list is the pursuit of comfort in laziness. And now Jummy did mention one already, and one is instant gratification. Another one is staying in your comfort zone. And the next one has something to do with the latest technology. So as far as instant gratification, that stems from our childhood, our early years childhood. That's another podcast in itself. Mm-hmm. But what is instant gratification? Instant gratification is foregoing something that is beneficial for something that is instant and easy, right? So instead of waiting, instead of working and sacrificing, right? We take the easy road.
Mm-hmm. Instead of delayed gratification, we want it instant. And, our culture has become so that we get things so convenient, right? So conveniency is always the key. Like I said, the shiny object. We want it now. And, like Sal said, waiting. That's probably like another podcast itself, too, another topic.
Absolutely.
But just knowing when to pause and knowing when to just wait and be aware of your wants versus your need, and determining if what you want it weighs more than what you need. It's kind of like weighing your options and making choices, because we're all given opportunities every day to make choices, and you have to decide to take that choice and just reevaluate it for yourself to see if it's worth the sacrifice.
And another one is, the next one is very important, is you want to stay in your comfort zone. And when you're comfortable, believe me, you're not going to make gains. You're not going to progress. And when you're in that comfort zone, you're just going to stay where you are. And we need to be able to move out of that comfortable. And sometimes most of the time, it can be very scary and difficult, right? And you might have to suffer a little bit. And of course, we want to stay safe. We want to stay comfortable. And that's a big problem.
And that goes back to choices, right? You have the choice to either stay in your comfort zone and never grow or never advance, or maybe challenge yourself a little bit and rise above that limitation you're putting yourself in. I was telling Sal, not too long ago about the story of an eagle. And what really fascinated me about an eagle is that once they get to a certain age, they have a choice to either stay in their comfort zone or to rise above that, even if it comes with challenges and challenges, because they have to go through a rebirthing season of their life. And if they don't embark on that journey or that rebirth, they will die. So it's kind of, they have the choice to either isolate themselves for a little while by, flying to, I think, like a mountain top. And then in that season, what they're doing is just stripping away the things that is weighing them down. So like the dead weight. So their beak starts to become very weak. And then what do? They cut it off. They break it off, and then they wait until it germinates, it grows. And then their feathers starts to become weak because they're not able to fly at a higher altitude. And if they are flying, and that's what they're known to do, that's their comfort. And what gives them comfort is becoming a dead weight to them. What do? They pluck off their feathers, and then they rebirth. They regenerated another feather. So that fascinates me about an eagle, because they are just an example of getting out of your comfort zone, rebirthing yourself, reinventing yourself, recreating yourself. But it starts with you searching within. And it starts with discipline.
Absolutely. And the next one we have listed is temptations and distractions. Now, what are the distractions? Cell phones. I was looking for my cell phone. I don't have it on me. But cell phones, we know what that's all about. Scrolling, social media. The next is social media, television. All those temptations, whatever our temptations. The temptation is maybe I'll eat that chocolate bar, right? That's Jummy's temptation.
Chocolate, yes.
Could be alcohol, could be drugs, could be anything. So let's talk about that, Jummy.
Yeah, like a vice, right?
Yeah.
Everyone has their own little vice, but, learning to just deny your flesh. Our flesh would always want more than our spirit desire, and when we're talking spiritual, your spirit just needs very little. It does not need a whole lot. That internal fulfillment, it doesn't take a lot, but we always are just so stimulated, and like our outward desires, that we start to lead with our flesh rather than just denying our flesh and just saying nope. And it takes a lot. It's easy said than done. It's easy said than done to not want to eat chocolates, because that's my favorite thing. But, just knowing when to just say no. Knowing when to just say no and knowing the reasons why, you're saying no. There's always a cause and effect. Whatever you do, whatever choice you make can cause something that could then become an effect to something else. So it ripples.
Absolutely.
So one choice could lead down a path that is not, it's least desirable.
Yeah, it usually does. So number 3, the lack of a clear goal or vision in your life, not having a purpose and lacking focus. Let's talk a little bit about that one, Julie.
I don't know, Sal. So I've been doing a whole lot of talking,
Okay.
but lack of clarity and clarity on your goals. So if you don't have a focus and you don't have a
purpose.
A purpose, if you don't have a purpose, you lack focus. There's a saying, and I don't know where I got the saying. Maybe in the Bible. There's a lot of things in the Bible. And it's a great book. That my people perish due to the lack of vision. I think that's what it is. I'm not sure what Bible verse that came from, but it is in the Bible. But yes, people perish due to the lack of vision. So if you don't know where you're going, you're just a chicken with no head. Just like, where am I going? So, and so oftentimes we go through a period in our life where we don't know. We don't know, but we only know when you pause and you really tune into yourself. And it's scary. It's dark in there sometimes. But once you get there, you start to heal certain things that were kind of maybe holding you back. Some childhood wounds that, that were kind of limitation. There were barriers for you getting to that next step in your life. But again, it all comes with discipline. And without that discipline to actually pause and knowing when to center yourself, you would never go ahead and you would always not have a clarity or vision or purpose.
Absolutely. I always say the saddest thing is seeing someone without a purpose in life. And so the next one is having an unhealthy body and an unhealthy mind. So it is a lot more difficult to be self-disciplined when you're physically exhausted, when you feel weak. When we lack sleep, we get into bad habits, like smoking, alcohol, eating junk food, etc. If we're not getting enough exercise, our body deteriorates. And we have a weak state of mind, and that contributes to a lack of discipline. And not have enough willpower or motivation. So it's very important to keep our body healthy as well as our mind. And go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, an example of my way of self-discipline is, it's kind of scary. I don't know. Some people think it's scary, but it's a habit that I created, or I've developed, because once you start to do it, it becomes a habit. So waking up early because you have a busy day, making time for yourself. Self-discipline also comes with self-care. And the best way to discipline yourself or to care for yourself is to discipline yourself, and once you have that routine, it becomes an habit that it wouldn't even be something you feel like you have to do. It would just be like, oh yeah, I need to do this, because if I don't do it, then my whole day just becomes imbalance. It's what keeps you, the check and balances in your life. So my way of self-discipline is waking up early, going to the gym, and having a nice shake, and then saying yes. Sometimes it's not always yes. Let's go. Sometimes it's just like, oh my God, I have to wake up.
Yeah. That's where the self-discipline comes in, Jummy, because a lot of times we don't want to do it, and that's how we have to build and take steps. And as far as even with the mind, to have a healthy mind, there's a lot of pessimism out there, not thinking you're good enough, not strong enough, smart enough. So we need to, as we go along with all these self-discipline steps, you are going to grow confidence, and your state of mind is going to be a lot healthier. So let's talk about some ways to develop self-discipline. Number one, to be aware of yourself, self-examination. Know your strengths, know your weaknesses, know what you do and what you don't do. Know yourself. know who you are. Like, look into who you are, what you need. What are your distractions? What are your triggers? What works for you and what doesn't? So I think also, visualize the person that you want to be. That's very important too. You should say, well, I want to be in shape. Well, what does in shape look like? Mm-hmm. It looks like something different to Jummy, me, you. So I want this. I want that. I want to have this type of body. I want to be, I want to weigh this much. I want to have this much fat density. Whatever it is, your goal is, what is it to visualize it?
Yeah, like Hebrews 12:11 says, for the moment, all discipline seems painful rather than pleasant, but later it yields the peaceful fruit of righteousness to those who have been trained by it. So, that is so deep, and it takes time. You can't just expect to just have self-discipline. It took me time to build that routine. It took Sal time to find purpose. Everyone, timing, it's you just have to be intentional. You have to be intentional, and you have to want it to kind of create that. So, at first it's probably going to be very painful. It is always painful to try something new, to embark in a new journey. But once you have a goal and you have a vision and it's clear and you know where you want to be, you kind of take steps to get there. Even if it's a very small steps, you're headed to the right direction. You're headed to a direction that is a desirable that will yield a desirable outcome for you in the long run. And, going back to the Bible verse, it says it's painful, but it yields a peaceful and fruitful and righteous for those who actually, are trained and they stick to it, stick to the plan.
Right. That moment of pain and displeasure or suffering reaps rewards. Mm-hmm. So we got to remember that. And number 2 on the list of the ways to develop self-discipline, June, I think this is one you'll like, is you have to know or figure out your why you're doing what you're doing. There has to be a purpose, a higher purpose. Usually it works better if you got to have a higher purpose than yourself. You can focus on yourself, but if you focus on something bigger than yourself, it's usually even more powerful. And I don't know if anybody's read Viktor Frankl's book called Man's Search for Meaning. He was a Holocaust survivor. Yeah. And he states in that book, those who have a why to live can bear with almost any how. So you always keep in mind your why, your reason. When things get tough, you always go back to your why, and that may get you over the hump.
Yeah, like the eagle. Going back like to the eagle, right? Likes those I do like the eagles. Oh, they're amazing. They're like the king of the amazing. Sky, right? Absolutely. But like the eagle, the eagle definitely knew its why. It's like it's either I break this beak so I can rebirth, I pluck this feather so it could stop weighing me down so I can fly and hunt, or I die. Right. So like that's the eagle's why. Yes. So some people's why are just as powerful as that. Like it's either this or nothing else, Right. But when you have that clear vision and you know where you're going, sometimes it's blurry. Sometimes we doubt ourselves, but that why will always be there. Always be there. Always come back to you, even if we drift off, even if we doubt ourselves. Even if we become an imposter to our why, it's still there. It's still ingrained in you because you know what you're called to do. And if you don't know, search within yourself and you will find it. It's that still small voice in there, giving you instructions for your next step, until you create or until you actually answer your call to becoming who you're created to be. So, why is very important. I would say for you, those of you listening right now, ask yourself, what is my why? What gives me purpose? And how can I discipline myself to start creating those small milestones to get to the big picture.
Well, I think that's good lead into our next reason, our next way.
Nice.
Number 3 is develop a plan. If you don't know where you're going, how are you going to get there?
Right.
I know with me, if I don't have a list to go shopping and I'm focused on the list, I'll end up in the cookie aisle, in the ice cream aisle, where I don't want to be there. I'll be wandering around for an hour. So we have to develop a plan, a structured, a clear plan, a daily plan, weekly, monthly, until we reach our goal. It's very important to plan because it keeps you on track and focused.
Right. Yes. Focused. And, with have all the stimulation around us, telephone, social media, we always want to be that person. We always want other people's blessings, and we forget our why. We forget to plan, we fail to plan. Yeah. And when you fail to plan, you don't have clarity. You don't see where you're going. So planning is always key. And how do you plan? That's a great question. Yeah. It stemmed from discipline.
Absolutely.
Discipline.
The first time I met Jummy, she came out with her big planner and she was writing all her stuff down. So she's a planner.
Write it all down.
Yep,
even
absolutely.
If you think it's very bizarre and you're like, this is not really a great plan. Write it down and you will see whatever you write down and you really focus on it and you tune into that. You kind of, you send, you're speaking it into existence. There's power in writing things down. There's power in your thoughts. There's power in your words. You speak life, and when you speak life into your life, you start to manifest it. Yes, starts to manifest it.
Absolutely.
And it becomes a reality. But planning and writing it down and taking little steps.
Absolutely. And you just segued into the next one. Number 4 is to start small. And the reason why we want to start small, we have to take the first step, right? It's always the first step that's the toughest. Whether it's working out, whatever it is, it's always the hardest. So we don't want to get overwhelmed. You don't want to have to do everything in 1 week, right? It's going to be a journey step by step. And sometimes if we start too big, we may get overwhelmed and we could abandon our goals.
Yeah. I mean, what's one goal that you have, Sal?
What is one goal? Why you put me on the spot like that, Julie?
Hey,
all right.
We're talking about self-discipline.
All right, one goal is to lose these love handles.
Oh, that's a good goal.
That's a good goal. And it's tough because if you're a guy, you know how hard it is to do that. But I'm working on it. I'm working on it. How about you, Jumi? Yours is probably much better, much greater than my love handles.
Well, I wanted to try this OMAD diet.
The OMAD.
Yes, 1 meal a day. And that has been challenging because lately, especially in the winter, I'm enjoying food, especially comfort food. So warm, hot, soupy, hefty food. So,
keep you warm.
But keeping me warm. So maybe I would have the love handles with you soon.
Maybe,
I don't know.
Maybe I'll lose mine and you'll get yours.
Oh no! So 1 meal a day. That's my goal. But we'll see. We'll see how that goes.
Absolutely. So the next one, number 5, is to remove all temptations and all distractions. Right? There's so many, like we said, our cell phones. When we're trying to do something, where we're making out our plan, where we're at work or whatever we're doing, we need to put that cell phone in another room so we can't get it for a while. Put it on airplane mode. Do whatever you can. Turn the TV off. Right? Temptations. Don't buy junk food. If you want to lose weight, if you want to get in shape, when you buy it and you have it in your cabinet or your refrigerator, you're going to eat it. So have that self-discipline at the supermarket where you don't have that temptation right in front of you.
Does that mean not getting chocolate?
Yeah, well, you can have a little dark chocolate. That's okay. Oh. You don't like dark chocolate? Dark chocolate's good.
I like it with nuts. Yeah.
Yeah. You are what you eat.
You're what you eat. He's calling me nuts. Boy.
So anyway, we're going to move on that note. So number 6, have a routine. All right. So routine is the things that produce habits. And we talked about routines a little bit. We talked about habits. Okay, so what I like to do, and what a lot of people say, is have a morning routine, right? Set your routine. When you wake up, and this is well known, if you press snooze, the snooze button, Jumi, you're failing before you get out of bed. So if you set your time for 6 a.m. and you say, I'm going to wake up at 6 a.m., and the minute you open your eyes, you press snooze, you just failed.
All right,
Hey, hold on, don't interrupt. Before you got out of bed, you just had your first loss. Make your bed. Do little things in your house, in your controlled environment, where you can get a bunch of wins before you step out your house and go into that uncontrolled environment. You're building momentum, and you're getting a routine, which is going to build good habits. Now, what were you going to say? We're going to make
All right, let me tell you a secret. No excuses. I'm going to tell you a little secret about how I press snooze and still make it on time.
Okay. All right. How's that working for you?
I'm intentional. Okay. So if I know, okay, I'm going to need, it takes me a little longer to get up, and I'm going to need to be intentional. I'm going to need to wake up an half hour earlier. And I did this when I was in the military too, and it works. Right. An half hour earlier before anybody else wakes up to use the bathroom. Okay. Yes, that's the beauty of being in the military and having to share a space with 150 women. I can understand that. But being intentional, and if you know that, okay, you're going to be doing this, you already know yourself, and you're working on breaking free from that habit, then be intentional. Wake up an half hour early. By the time you know it, you're then waking up 20 minutes earlier, and then by the time then it cuts down to 10 minutes, and then it becomes a routine. Then you're building that momentum, but you're challenging yourself. Okay. Before it was an hour, and then I was like, okay, I'm gonna break it down to 50, then 55, and then half hour. Gradual. So gradual. Okay. Gradual
that's fine.
Steps.
That's where we go with the start small, the small steps. So that works. Yeah. Number 7, set priorities and have at least one non-negotiable. So priorities, we got to set the priorities. What is most important in our lives? It's to each person, it could be different, but you have to set your priorities and stick to your priorities. Put them first, and have one non-negotiable. Non-negotiable is something that you're going to do daily, and no matter what, you are going to do this. So it could be, for some people, I'm going to go work out. That's non-negotiable. I don't care what comes up today, I am going to do that. It could be going out on a date with your loved one, your husband or your wife. We're going out on this day, non-negotiable. I don't care what comes up. So we need to set our priorities and have at least one non-negotiable.
Give me an example of how you do this.
How I do what? Why are you always priorities. How come you're always trying to put me on the spot, Jimmy?
You're the one giving the
first of all, I don't hit snooze. Okay? Priorities. Okay. My priorities are when I get up, don't hit snooze. I get ready for work. I make my bed. I take my dog for a 45-minute walk every day. That's a priority. I go to work, I come home, I eat, I go to the gym. Those are my priorities. I come when in between I work on this podcast so we can do this. So nice. I have a lot of priorities, and there are non-negotiables such as a gym. That I have my workout schedule, and that I'm going to stick to it, and that's not negotiable.
Yeah, and I think also what one of my priority is, and that's non-negotiable, is setting time to be mindful. So praying, meditating, spending time with God. Even after going to the gym, going for a walk, I call it my prayer walk. Even if it's like 10 minutes of just, if it's so cold and I'm not able to walk, I make it intentional. I double gloves. There you go. Yep. I dress comfortably, but if you're not able to walk, just being mindful, breathing, and just praying and spending time with God, talking to God. And once I started to do that, my whole life changed. And then God started to speak to me, and I started to hear his voice. He always said, my sheep hears my voice. But how do you hear God's voice when you don't spend time with him? So being intentional and just being mindful, practice mindfulness and gratitude in the morning, I think would set your day for success.
That's a good habit. So number 8, set reminders. So we all get distracted obviously. We all have a lot of things going on. Some memories are better than others, but even those with the best memory, sometimes we forget. So in order to do that, set your reminders. Use your cell phone, set a reminder for different times. Because when you start missing appointments, when you start forgetting to do things, the momentum that you start building will slow. It's very easy to lose it. It's hard to get that momentum, but it's so easy to lose it. It happens like that. So set those reminders so you don't forget.
Yeah, it's easy for us to lose motivation on what our why is. And then when you lose motivation, then there goes your discipline.
Absolutely.
So being intentional, setting alarms or setting a reminder. There was a book that I read, and I think the writer mentioned, for each task, they had an alarm, they had a clock, or they had a block. They will block time for each task. So some people think that's effective. Some people just like setting an alarm just to remind them, okay, it's time to shift gears.
I think that was the one thing.
The one thing?
The one thing, that book.
Oh.
Yeah, we spoke about that.
Yeah.
But that's another podcast. So anyways, number 9, find an accountability partner. Why do we want to do this? Because when we set a goal, when we want to do something, we want to create something, we want to, lose weight, we want to start a business, whatever you want to do, find the person, let them know what you're going to do, let them hold you accountable for it. Because if you don't share, it's easy to quit. Once you share and put it out there, it's tougher. It holds you responsible. I know when I do things, whether it was this podcast or whatever I do, there's a lot of things that I tell not just one person, but abundance of people. I'm going to do this. I'm going to start this. Because when it comes down the line, hey, how are you doing with that, Sal? And then now I have to answer to people, and it just creates leverage for you to keep going.
Yeah.
So I'm going to start telling you what I got to do. You can be my accountability partner.
I thought I was.
Now you are. You are. No, you are. Yeah, you're a good accountability partner.
I try.
All right.
But yeah, picking a best friend, or maybe not even a best friend, someone you trust and someone you know that you look up to. Maybe someone that, is already doing something that you want to do. Let's say you want to be a business owner and, you see someone successful at it. Be best friends with that person and just have them be your accountable partner.
Yeah,
and stay close to them, because you are an example of the 5 people you hang around with. So
that's good.
Yeah.
It's circle.
So it's circle. So what they're pouring out, write it down. Learn from them.
Learn from that. Mm-hmm. So this is my favorite, because this is the one I've been working on lately. Number 11, learn to tolerate temporary discomfort. It's our natural sense, our mind to avoid pain as much as possible. It's our mind self-preservation. Your mind knows your weaknesses or your fears or your discomfort, and your mind is going to protect you from that. The problem with that, mind's so good at it, a lot of times it protects us so much that we're unable to grow. There's pain and suffering in discomfort. There's growth, in pain, suffering, discomfort. And this is a good quote I like. It says, "You have to realize that everything that you ever wanted already exists on the other side of pain. The contrast between what you don't want and what you don't want to do and how you acted when you didn't want to do it, that is the person you are at the moment. Will you cave or will you conquer?" So without pain, without suffering, without discomfort, we cannot grow. You just, like we said before, stay in that comfort zone is a dream killer, a goal killer, self-discipline killer.
Yeah, without pain, There's no gain.
Oh, where'd you
didn't
get
see it
that? Did
coming?
you think of that right now?
No, I didn't.
Oh, I was clever.
I think I found that from a movie.
Oh, no pain, no gain.
No pain, no gain.
No.
You know, hey, everyone has to go through some growing pain, but what do you get out of that? Do you get a lesson, or are you just gonna sit there and just let the pain just be a dead weight to you, just weigh you down? You kind of have to break free and break free from it. Break free, and your breakthrough is just at the other side of you breaking free from something that is holding you down.
And when you do go through this, Jummy, we go through this discomfort and you overcome, and you make gains, and you build wins, and you may do something that you didn't think was possible, but because you went through the suffering, you went through the discomfort, and you came out on the other side, that's going to give you confidence. So let's give you an example. Going to the gym. When you go to the gym, you're going to, do whatever exercise you want, and there's going to be a point where you want to stop, where it's discomfort, it's uncomfortable. But if you keep going, because you know you have more in it, and you make gains, and you overcome, and you do things, and you go further than you thought you could go. And that's going to translate into all areas of your life. It's going to into your work, in your workplace, your business, with your family, whatever it is. When you build that confidence and you build that momentum, you gain confidence, and then you grow and grow and grow. So you have to learn to tolerate that discomfort.
Yeah, because at the other side of the pain, there is
victory.
There is victory.
There's victory.
There is victory. There's always impossible. We always think things are impossible until it's done, And I think it's, who said that quote? It's always impossible until it's done. So we're always looking for possibilities in the impossible, but sometimes we have to go through the lesson. We have to go through the process. It's called the pruning process, when you're being molded and shaped into what you are actually called to do. God would never give us something we cannot handle. So when we're called to do a certain task or called to be in certain ministry, it's because your destiny is already tied into so many people's destiny that you don't even know. But you have to be willing to break free from the behaviors, or from the learned behaviors that you've adapted, from the norm, from the cultures that you've molded yourself into. And it takes time. So just be easy on the process, be easy on yourself, and just take little small steps to get there.
So you're looking at my notes.
I'm not.
Oh, because you just said go easy on yourself. And number 12, and the final step that we have listed is forgive yourself and move forward. We know this self-discipline thing is hard, because if it wasn't hard, everybody would be doing it. And we're going to fail. We're going to have setbacks. We're going to just chalk it up as an L and just move forward, right? And you don't give up, and you stay strong. And, we're going to have setbacks, but even through the setbacks, we grow.
Never look back. You only look back to take a glance at where you've came, what you've overcame. Absolutely. But once you start to look back, you start to see yourself as an imposter to your future. Always look ahead, look back just to glance, and keep moving forward.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's what we're going to do, move forward, Jummy. So these are our steps to becoming self-disciplined. If you've enjoyed this, click like or subscribe, leave a comment. We want to keep making content that's going to help people. And by you doing so, it's going to give us more visibility and help us access more people. So I hope you enjoyed this first episode of the What's Your Story topics. And stay tuned for more of the What's Your Story, where we're still going to do amazing interviews. So thank you for joining us, and we will see you soon. Take care.